So this is the season for darkness. The winter solstice, which is December 21st this year, marks the longest night of the year as we plunge deeper into the winter season. It also, paradoxically, marks the turning towards light and warmth. After the solstice, the nights grow shorter and the days grow longer as the light returns. And so many of the traditions of we people in northern climates celebrate this time of year. The bringing in of greenery, the stringing of lights, the myths and stories of figures who die and are reborn. These are all ways of capturing the promise of the return of the light through the long, dark, cold winter and holding that promise close until it is actualized in the spring. The solstice season then becomes a time of expectation and anticipation. It is a looking ahead through the darkness to the return of the light. Now, in many times, in many cultures, this mythic celebration of the assurance of light and warmth was a way to cultivate hope and resilience, and this was a matter of immense practical concern. Winter could be a time of real peril. If the harvest was bad, if the livestock had taken ill, if insufficient fuel had been gathered, if the spirit of the people was poor or their ingenuity lacking, winter could be a time of death. Life was sometimes poised on a knife's edge during this season, and so resilience too could be a life and death matter. And so the promise, just make it through the season of darkness. The light is coming. Warmth is coming. Those celebrations had survival value. They mattered. At the same time, the mythic insight of paganism and neo-paganism is to respect the darkness. In ancient stories like that of the Oak King and the Holly King, alluded to in Gina's reflection, twin forces representing summer and winter, dark and light, battle eternally for supremacy. They are matched such that neither can ever fully overcome the other. The winter solstice is the apogee of the season of the Holly King, but we know that from here on out, the Oak King is marshaling his strength. The days grow longer, night is retreating, even as it is triumphant. We humans may be partisans of the warmth and the light that grows the crops that we need to survive, that enervates our bodies and lifts our spirits, but behind the eternal struggle of these two kings is the larger reality that they are two sides of the same figure, twin aspects of the horned god representing the creative vitality of nature. And so the pagan conception of the solstice reminds us that death, creative destruction, the falling away of the old is essential to fertility and growth and creation. We need seasons of winter, and we need seasons of summer. We need the energy and warmth of light, but we also need the stillness and the rest of the dark. Paganism embraces and honors both the dark and the light, seeking to balance these energies in our lives. And whereas post-Enlightenment thought tends to view time as this kind of relentless arrow, moving forward, always directing our life from goal to goal and achievement to achievement in a linear fashion, the pagan traditions emphasize the circular nature of time. The seasons are ever turning and returning. In this same way, the forces of light and dark, death and renewal are circular forces in our lives. We need these seasons of winter and seasons of spring in our life to dance, to sing, to create, to love, to turn cartwheels in the warmth of the sun. These are wonderful things. But also we need rest, and we need stillness, and we need the cool, sheltering darkness. We need quiet conversations with our own spirit under a patient canopy of stars. We need nighttime for dreaming. Laura Randall, in a 2017 article in the UU World magazine, encourages us not to be too hasty to look ahead to the light. Let us take time, she suggests, to loiter in the dark. She laments that artificial light has made true darkness a scarcity in our lives, has disrupted our sleep cycles and our spiritual cycles. The sun never really sets anymore, she observes, on what we can do, on what we can accomplish in a day. But in the possibility of darkness, she sees a spirituality that trusts that there is value in absence as well as in abundance. There is value in absence as well as in abundance. In darkness, there's an emptying out that creates space for mystery, for unknowing, and out of unknowing for transformation. The kind of transformation that comes from abiding with one's own spirit, from resting with the great mystery. The deceptiveness of winter is that it may seem so cold and still and barren when it is in its own way an intensely fertile time. In the same way, we may go through periods of our own life that may seem frozen and barren to others or even to ourselves. But that may prove to be the preparatory season for great new growth and new life. And it can take a certain amount of spiritual resilience on our part to navigate those seasons in our lives. If you've been through one, you know how daunting it can be. And it can require a certain amount of trust to allow ourselves to go quietly inward, to allow ourselves these periods of pregnant dormancy, to acquiesce even to the falling away, to the death of some part of ourselves, so that new life can emerge. Can we trust in the darkness as well as the light? Can we trust in the gifts that each has to offer us? This is a poem called The Darkness Divine by Kristin Harper. God, she says, resides in depths of darkness as in the light of sunbeams. The moon shines brighter, surrounded by night, and life is secured in the black waters of the womb. As the night sky littered with stars demonstrates again and again, there is beauty in darkness and beauty in light, one no more brilliant than the other, one no more necessary than the other, one always complementing the other. Without the heated darkness of the universe, splitting neutrons, electrons, and protons from atoms, life and light would never be. The task for us today, she says, is to recognize God in both. To see the divine in the rich brown earth, the textured black walnut, as well as the white snow and the pale pink jellyfish. To see the sacred in the panther and the swan. To embrace the dignity of the black Madonna as it is embodied in the Virgin Mary. The task for us today, she says, is to look into the multifaceted colors of the onyx and see the miraculous spectrum of color produced in the prism of a diamond. We close today's service with a meditation for the winter solstice written by Reverend Lynn Cox. So I'm going to invite you now to take a breath. Let's just breathe in and breathe out. And let's take another breath. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let your body settle a little. Let your eyes close if you're comfortable doing so. We're going to go on an imaginative journey together. We pause as the path of the sun reverses, seemingly holding its place for a moment of turning. Let us delve into the gifts of darkness at the winter solstice. We follow curiosity and contemplation down into the cold earth, taking a journey to the world below the surface. Here we find acorns cached by squirrels and chipmunks, perhaps to be food laid in store, or perhaps to become trees in the fullness of time. We find the burrows of hibernating animals, those who sleep and repair. We find seeds, including some that will not sprout unless they first wait through frost and ice. Life finds rest and renewal in the darkness. May those who are weary find comfort. May those who are struggling find meaning and companionship. May those who are injured or ill find recovery. May those who hunger find abundance. Let this be a time of healing, and may the dreams of the dark lead us to share these gifts with one another. And now our imagination rises back to the surface, to life where the cold ground meets the crisp air, and here we observe life finding its way. We observe animals eating seeds left on the ground, though the harvest is long past. We notice the migration of birds, natural movement that allows populations to find places where they can thrive. We observe the trees that appear to sleep and yet hold sap that will rise again before the spring arrives. We observe that not everything lives through the winter, and yet all that has lived returns to the earth and is transformed. Let this be a time of resilience. May the changing seasons bring new meaning and new insights. May creativity and persistence lead us to find resources for all to share. May those who migrate find safety, and may there be good news in the wind. May transformation lead us onward. We now lift our imagination to the sky, to the returning sun and to the brilliant winter night. Shifting hours of light and darkness remind us that change is part of the rhythm of the universe, and so trouble does not last. Acknowledging the gifts of darkness, we also look forward to the growing light, a change that brings glimmers of hope. We marvel at the beauty of this time, stars unobstructed by leaves, jewels of the night shining over the land, moon and meteors inspiring us to awe and wonder. So let this be a time of celebration. What joy can be found? Let us hold it close, blow on its embers, and share its spark. We do not take for granted having come this far. We give thanks for our companions on the journey. Friends, we wish you a blessed solstice, and all the warmth, and all the rest, and all the stillness, and all the mystery of this season. Blessed be, and amen.